Good morning, everyone. It is July 13th, 2020, Monday morning. I just got done reading an article in The Atlantic from Frank Partnoy, who is a law professor at Berkeley. And he's discussing how the current banking system, with all these loans, may face the same type of collapse we saw in 2008 because these loans are being defaulted on. And I mean by default, I mean by default. Nobody can pay their rent. Think about it. Think about all the people that have delayed paying rent. And also think about all the businesses that have delayed paying rent. And add that on to car payments, student loans, mortgages, etc. How long is this system going to try to keep itself sustainable before it collapses again like we saw in 2008? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Here we are once again. There was supposed to be regulation to not allow this stuff to happen with the banks, but they did it again. And they're probably going to get a bailout for it again. Yet some really smart people have discussed and showcased on different news programs that if a company fails or goes bankrupt, there's plans in place to help the employees cash out, or after everything has been either liquidated or restructured, the employees have more of a buy-in to the company. All the investors, the investor class who do no labor, all they do is speculate. They're the ones that have the most money and they take on the most amount of risk. That's how the role works. But when the business fails, they're the ones, the investors are the ones that get bailed out and not the employees. How many times does this have to happen until we have a revolution? That's the conversation in the air today. And looking back at the history of other revolutions, what did it take? Well, those in power were abusing their power, not taking care of the lower classes, the citizens. And it wasn't until the citizens became hungry did they start to take over with violence. And that is what we're approaching at the end of this month. The extra $600 for unemployment runs out unless the government continues it. There's no stimulus check coming unless the government confirms that. So here we are, halfway through 2020. You have to ask yourself, is it going to get better or is it going to get worse? It's going to get worse before it gets better. So this month, when you go to the grocery store, grab an extra handful of canned goods. That's what I did right when I landed on March 9th. I went to the grocery store, I think it was either the 10th or the 11th, and just got supplies. Probably going to need to do the same thing before this month is out. And as we're inching closer and closer to the election, as we're in July and the election's in November, Hannibal Buress on the Joe Rogan podcast, talked about how crazy this country's going to get and how he wants to go off to Ghana and get away from this place. That's not a bad idea. It is feels like it's getting crazier and crazier. But at least that's how it feels on the internet and on YouTube. Spending more time with my neighbors or spending more time in my neighborhood, trying to improve my neighborhood. Yesterday, I walked down a couple blocks to help a neighbor chip away at her driveway in order to lay down a new patchwork of cement to smooth it out, and then she wants to paint over the driveway. I think it's going to look pretty good after we're done. Being out and helping your neighbors and being outside and working just feels a lot better than sitting on the internet and seeing what people have to say on YouTube all day long, right? You can find yourself trapped. I can find myself trapped in that continual, watch the next video, want to watch another video, watch another video. Then all of a sudden my morning's gone, my afternoon's gone, and the sun's starting to set. I'm like, what? I could have done so much more today. I could have wrote a couple more pages in a script. I could have read a book. Hell, I could have even played a video game, which I I haven't played a video game in a couple weeks just because I've been busy working on the house. But you start to categorize, okay, what am I doing with my time that can best utilize my time? Unfortunately, we have a lot of time on our hands, and looking at what I would be doing this summer, what I would be doing right now after the 4th of July is working, bartending, and probably doing at least one more event this summer. Getting ready to go to CEO or another fighting game event. And the idea that everything's going to be going back to normal by the fall, I mean, I wish leadership just would have said, hey, this is a lost summer. Everybody plan accordingly, but this is a lost summer. Some people are trying to be innovative and figure some stuff out. Some stand-up comedians have been doing shows at drive-in theaters, so everybody stays in their car. Drive-in movies are, this is their time. Those people that held on to the dream of having a drive-in theater, this is your time. So we still have some businesses and folks trying to figure stuff out. And the ingenuity and the creativity is definitely worthy of applause. But it's this entire mindset, it's the entire system that is the problem, where, nothing can stop. Everything has to be coming through. We have to keep having income. But if you build a business or a lifestyle that's not really contingent upon a pandemic, how do you plan for that business-wise? Well, you plan for a rainy day by having a savings account or having money put to the side, but for how long? A friend of mine's father told me you should have a rainy day fund that's going to let you live for 6 months. And I think, can businesses hold on to that much capital in their accounts to save for a rainy day? Or do they see that capital as, this is unused capital? We can be using this to invest and to make more money and hire more people. So they're thinking about the jobs and the success today when everything's flowing just fine. But these companies that make a lot of money, when the PPP program was released, they were the ones that applied as well and received money. I just think, so you are as dependent upon all income being generated to survive as a business, just like somebody who is stricken in poverty or is barely holding on to their middle-class status is one car accident or health emergency away from bankruptcy. So if the workers are living a life on the edge this way and our businesses are living a life on the edge this way, before there was even a pandemic, what do you think is going to happen when there's no income coming? There's no taxes being generated. I believe the workforce, the calculated workforce in America is 120 million, either between 120 and 150 million. And I believe a third of that population has applied for unemployment. Woo! If we're not already in a recession, what is a recession? Remember, it took a while. It took about a whole year for us to fully realize the collapse from 2007 to 2008. So since the first shutdown and now possible second shutdowns that are happening in different states, multiple months moving into a quarter, now moving into possibly 2 quarters, if not more, of these businesses not developing the revenue that they're used to. So with the end of this month, you have rent due, you have business rent due, you have all this money that's supposed to be coming in that's even been delayed, that's not coming. And what type of effect is that going to have on everything else? That's what I'm worried about. So we have half a month left for hopefully our government to come up with a financial solution that will stabilize this country and keep people social distancing so we can defeat this virus as soon as possible. But I don't Yeah. Got to take things into your own hands and your own preparation and looking out for yourself. I mean, it sounds so fatalistic, but these are the times. These are the facts laid right out in front of us to be prepared. Not that this should happen, but that it could happen. So if these institutions fail financially again, and we're not going back, I mean, things are not going back to the way they were before the pandemic. I mean, look at how much commuting has factored into people realizing, wait a second, I'm spending 3 hours commuting? We're not going to be doing this work from home? Why do I want to go back to the office? Or, you know what, we only need to go back to the office 2 to 3 times out of the week, not all 5 days. Anyways, so going through different information and articles that are being written, and just a lot of concern for the end of this month. Yeah. Happier news? Shoot, let me think. This Gotham PD show that was announced for HBO Max, which ties into the Batman movie, the Matt Reeves Batman movie with Robert Pattinson being developed. Saw a lot of chatter on the internet saying, hey, we already had a show like this. It was called Gotham. And yeah, Gotham did primarily focus on Jim Gordon and the Gotham PD, but it also had a young Bruce and a young Bruce training to become Batman. And it was network. You can only do so much on network. So I think Terrence Winter, who, the man behind many scripts and ideas with wonderful shows on HBO, including Sopranos and Boardwalk Empire, he's behind this. So think about a mature HBO The Wire or Boardwalk Empire or Sopranos style show taking place in Gotham about Gotham PD. Okay, I mean, I'm intrigued, but I'm also really intrigued with what DC is doing and what their approach possibly is going to be, or what Warner Brothers is doing. We're not going to be Marvel. We're not going to create this, 10-year-long, amazingly connected cinematic universe like Marvel did. We are going to create multiple universes with multiple creative ideas and people and teams behind it, either be films or television or streaming, but they're all connected because of the multiverse. And not just the things that we're producing today, not just the DCEU, but everything that has been released from Warner Brothers Studios, from Warner Brothers Pictures, or Warner Brothers Home Entertainment, television, etc. That the Adam West Batman, who, Burt Ward showed up during the Crisis event for the CW shows for the Arrowverse. And you even had one of the actors from Batman 89 and Kevin Conroy, and just all this celebration, it felt like, of all these people that have brought their talents to make these different DC characters come alive. And it was almost like an experiment, right, to see how television would do it. And now movies are going to do it with this whole Michael Keaton announcement, or at least teasing talks that Michael Keaton is in to reprise his role as Batman from 1989. I'm excited about this pivot and this business approach because if you try to chase a trend, you're always going to be on the back foot. You have to find a way to do it better, do it different. And the new leadership at Warner Brothers and DC, it seems like that's what they're trying to do. Time will tell. But this DC fandom, this big DC fandom experience next month, which more details are being announced about it, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to present and to do it in a digital way that an audience doesn't have to go to a Comic-Con or a physical location, but they can be in a world, however this is going to be presented in VR or whatnot, and experience all of this. So some innovation is happening amidst this crazy crisis. I need to watch some more stand-up. I need to get some more laughs going. But I wanted to close with this. There's a great stand-up by Tom Papa on Netflix, but he talks about how you need to have a pair of eyes looking at you as a human. Either be it your spouse or a girlfriend or boyfriend or a cat or a dog or a fish. But you need to have a pair of eyes looking at you. If there's something in us as humans, as social creatures, that if we are responsible for or share a connection with another living creature, there's something to that I'm finding more and more friends and associates that don't have a pet that are on their own. They're having a tough time after these 4 months. So my heart goes out to them and to anybody else that's feeling lonely and confused and scared, and their only outlet is on the internet, and even there it's full of bullies and jerks. The best piece of advice I could give you is, get a cat or a dog if you can, or a fish, or a gerbil or a hamster. But that will help you cope through all of this. It's helped me cope with my cat, Selena, but also creating a better bond with all my neighbors. All right. I appreciate you all tuning in to Monday Morning Musings, this weekly just thoughts firing off the cuff. But yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried towards the end of this month. So just take extra precautions, and hopefully I'm wrong, and we can cruise out of this thing, and the cases will go down, and people will wear masks, and we'll have a fair election in November, and everything will be sugar and rainbows. That's what you hope for, but you got to have a contingency plan. I hope you have a great week this week. I hope up here in the Pacific Northwest, we both have a healthy mix of sunshine and rain. Maybe some streaming of some Final Fantasy VII later this week, but again, I have a lot to accomplish still in the yard and the garage/production studio. I'd much rather get as much done this month and the next month as possible. And then when the sun disappears and the rain comes back towards the fall, I'll have more time to play games. Or not. Maybe my life will be completely different. We will see. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you online.